Hi there, if you're watching this, this is a lesson about human karyotypes. So as you see on your screen, this picture below represents something called a human karyotype. And essentially that means that this is a image that represents all of the chromosomes that would be found inside of the nucleus of one single human cell. And as you notice, there is 22 pairs, and then this last pair of what are known as our sex chromosomes, which means we have a total of 23 pairs, which means 46 total chromosomes. So to get this karyotype, this is the process we go through. A blood sample is taken, and we use different types of chemicals to essentially separate out the parts of our blood that are not cells, so things like plasma and antibodies and platelets. We then take those blood cells and very interestingly, we put them in a hypotonic solution. So if you look right here, a hypotonic solution, that should be ringing bells from our unit where we talked about osmosis. Essentially, we put it in a hypotonic solution so that the cells swell until they eventually lyse. And the chromosomes then will spread out once they lyse. Then we centrifuge out all of the different cell parts and just suspend the chromosomes that would be floating around. We then wash them and stain them a darker color so that we can see different patterns in the chromosomes. And then we view that on a light microscope like the ones you used in class, and we basically take a picture of it. That picture will be snapped and all of the chromosomes will kind of be randomly every which way laid out on the screen. And then a person, or more commonly now that we have the technology, a computer will run a program where it matches up each chromosome with its partner. We learned in class that each chromosome has a chromosome that shares the same genetic sequence, but not necessarily the same alleles, and those are called the homologous pairs. So each chromosome has what's called a homolog. And each homolog is going to have a similar banding pattern as its homologous pair. So we can see chromosome number 1, you can see the patterns of light and dark spots. Those would be the different combinations of genes and alleles that we have. And we can see that chromosome 1 is the same length and the same banding pattern. Therefore, we know that it's with its homologous pair. If we zoom down here to little teeny tiny chromosome 21 and 22, we can see that these chromosomes are shorter because the DNA strand itself would be shorter. And they also have different banding patterns. Now, this is pretty difficult. So on this slide, you can see a karyotype, and I'd like you to real quick try to see if you can match up which of the chromosomes in the karyotype to the right matches with the chromosome in the red circle. If you look through all of them, you'll notice that the banding pattern and the length is most similar to chromosome number 3. So that means that that is the homologous pair for chromosome number 3. For the blue circle, you'll notice that that is most similar to chromosome number 19, similar length and similar banding pattern. Now, I mentioned the sex chromosomes. Let's talk about the karyotype of a karyotype that is most frequently associated with a male. I say most frequently just because it is not the norm, and there are different cases where people may have different X and Y chromosomes and present as different genders. There's a lot that has to do biologically with how genders are presented, and that's going to be reviewed in a different lesson. So if we look at karyotype A, we'll notice that this karyotype has an X and a Y chromosome, and that these chromosomes are different lengths. Very different lengths. So they're very, very different chromosomes. In person B, there are 2 X chromosomes. All right. In karyotypes, it is more frequent to have a male karyotype that has a X and a Y, which means that our A karyotype would be most frequently seen in a male individual. And the B karyotype has 2 X chromosomes, which is more frequently seen in a female individual. All right. So that was human karyotypes, and I hope that was helpful.